the pros, what you want to use it for, and and it's interesting. I won't bury the lead, but it's there's some real advantages for amateur players and for
Okay.
people who have. For example, particular like people if they had a disability not being able to fully form an embouchure, this it would actually be a terrific instrument for them.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah.
Yeah, because it really doesn't. You can be a bad saxophonist in
Uh,
terms of,
uh,
and it really doesn't make any difference.
yeah, I mean the yeah. So the instrument make the sound yourself. Do you have to use like a computer program or something or?
Well, it comes preloaded with 73 sounds.
Oh wow.
My memory is correct, and I think 56 of them are saxophone sounds. And the other ones are in like synth sounds or flute sounds. I mean, there's a variety of things. For people, players like you and me, I don't think we're going to bother with the saxophone sounds because, well, we actually have a real saxophone,
Oh
and
yeah.
you know, so we'll do that. So I think, but like using it like an Iwi or an Akai, a Roland WX7, those kind of things, which most famously people like Michael Brecker
Yeah.
Bob Mintzer use are used in Brecker's case. This is it acts as a very good controller, and then if you connect it through a computer to something like
Yeah.
Logic or Pro Tools or anything that has like a library of synth sounds, particularly if you have plugins available as well,
Oh
uh,
great.
you can sound virtually like anything. So it's a very powerful tool, and potentially, and the great thing is it feels exactly like a saxophone that you're used to. So
Uh,
based off of the EX E75 EX, and so if you have very good technique on saxophone, you're going to have very good technique on this. Plus, you get a low A key, and there's
oh
a whammy.
wow, really?
And actually, I'll just show this to you. What we got here. So this is it.
Oh
And
yeah,
on the
that's
back by the right thumb,
yeah, that's the octave.
yeah, and it's not an octave key. No, it's a whammy bar that you can program. My kitten out of here. You going up or down in pitch, and
Oh okay.
yeah, it's kind of a cool
Oh
thing
fun.
using kind of focus or fusion music things like this. And as you can see here on the back,
I hope that
that's the octave key. Here's the low A key.
wow,
So not just for Barry saxes anymore, for all of us.
for anything basically.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm gonna get one next year.
Oh, good. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I think they're just kind of rolling them out now. So there's been myself and a couple other people I know have one. Um, but yeah, I think it's a really cool tool if you're using it, in the right way. I mean, I wouldn't try and play
Yeah.
on this. I
Right.
don't a lot of point, but like for certain
Just for
jazz.
fun. Yeah, just for certain music.
Well, yeah, especially for some new music and stuff that if you want to sound like what a synthesizer would do, but using your saxophone technique,
Yeah.
this is a great kind of entry level into that for sure.
Yeah. Hey, actually, right now I'm just thinking that you and I actually have met once in the North American Saxophone Alliance.
Oh, one of the biennials, one of the national conferences.
Yes. I think it was in 2014 or something.
I'm trying to think
20.
where was that in 2014? Was that Illinois?
Yes. Or maybe. Uh, or were you there? Were you there in 2014 or
Yeah,
20?
I don't think I've missed any of them for at least, I don't know, 12, 14 years, something like that. Yeah, I'm sure I was.
I recognize you actually.
Well,
Uh,
hopefully for good reasons, but
uh,
yeah,
of
yeah, that's
course, I mean, like,
always fun to go
yeah.
to. Absolutely. So you would have been. Were you traveling from China to go to that, or were you in?
Well, here's a so I moved to the United States of America since 2012, and then but before that, I came for Red Bender's Siskiyou saxophone workshop, and It was in back in 2010. I don't know if you know my first teacher, Professor Yuxin Li. I don't know.
I certainly recognize the name. I don't think I've had the pleasure of meeting.
Oh, really? Okay. So he and Red Bender are really good friends for a long time since 2002 to 2003.
Mhm.
And then Dr. Bender, for that reason, went to China since 2003, 2004, 2007. Anyway, many times. And then so they're sort of built a really good friendship, and Dr. Bender is really helping to his student, and so I actually met Dr. Bender when I was in Ashland 2010 with a bunch of Professor Yuxin Li's students,
Mhm.
and we participated in the Ashland Siskiyou saxophone workshop. And Dr. Bender was kind enough and to give master class lectures and lessons. And actually that time I didn't think we had lessons, but we had rehearsals with ensembles, all kind of that stuff. And I was the one choosing to be playing for his master class. And I still remember what I played. I played a Marcello Sonata number 5 for alto saxophone arranged by Marcel Mill.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
By Marcello. Most people just when they say Marcello, they mean the concerto.
yeah.
Um,
I played his sonata.
huh, okay.
That was my second masterclass experience. Anyway, I was petrified. I was so nervous, and was a bunch of great students watching, and professors are watching. Dr. John Blue were here at that time. Also, Dr. Scott Turpin were here at that
Yeah,
time,
yeah.
and Jennifer Turpin, his wife, and Linda Lee Blue, John Blue's wife, are all here, and plus, Vicky Perslow, uh, a bunch of people. I was petrified, and
Well, you got through it though, huh?
I'm glad I'm still alive, so I survived. But anyway, after I play, and Dr. Bender, I don't know, he thinks that it's pretty impressive, and he's later I asked him, and he said, I saw something in you that you have something that musically so special, and that's why. And then later at that night, a bunch of people went to dinner after concert. I think they went to a bar in downtown. I don't remember because I
I'm sure
didn't
they were.
I
I
didn't
know
go.
those guys.
Yeah, and so
Surprised if
so
they did.
yeah, he at that time my parents were with me. He told my parents that I could come to the United States and study saxophone.
Mhm.
And in 2011, he went to China twice, and twice, of course, I had the pleasure to visit with him. We had dinner together, and I played for him for a couple lessons, and he gave me lessons, and then sort of this idea is really settled. Okay, so I'm going to studying with you in 2012 after I graduated from high school, and then I applied. He ultimately accepted me as a member of his studio in 2012. I came here um, in summer of 2012, and that's how I started studying with him. And from 2012 to 2014, I I couldn't speak English, any English, before I was in China. I started to learn English when I after I moved here,
Mhm.
and
I thought
so
they taught English in the schools in China.
I'm sorry.
Don't they teach English in the schools in China?
Yeah, they do, but I was not a very good English student, and so I don't practice enough. Um, Plus, we don't have this kind of environment. After class, students all speak Chinese, so nobody practice English with me.
Yeah.
And
Well, you speak very well now, you
thank
know.
you. I did a lot of practicing, and anyway, in 2012 to 2014, I was in the language school. I started working in university that's tied in the university foundation, and I graduated from there. I finished from there, I should say. And in fall of 2014, because we use quarter system here. Um, in I think it was September 23rd, 27th, I started my work on my Bachelor of Arts degree. So that was it. And so in China, I was taking lessons because of my disability. For that matter, I couldn't I could not go to any university foundation school like conservatory or anything like that. I couldn't be in band. I couldn't be in orchestra. None of them. But I could take lessons with Professor Yu Shen Li.
Hmm.
Um, he uh, he's very kind and accepted me as a private student. Um, and I learned a lot of I learned a lot of technique. I learned lot of music ideas from him, and so was from Dr. Bender.
Oh, sure. You've been in very capable hands and you're just kicking butt. So good.
Yeah,
It's a great story to hear. And yeah, I hope you're proud of your progress and, proud of your journey. I remember, coming to the States for the first time, but, with quite, a different story than yours, obviously. But uh, yeah, it's a land of opportunity. It is what you make of it.
so, would you tell me a little bit about your background and like where you're from? I mean, I know a little bit of where you're from, but how did you start and that kind
Yeah,
of
well,
thing?
I mean, the quick story is, I was born in England, just south of London,
Oh
and I was
wow!
lived there till I was 7. Then my family moved. They emigrated to Calgary, Alberta, Canada, um, in November 1984, and just
Uh,
happened to be an incredibly cold winter. So it was
yeah.
a bit of a bracing someone who rarely saw snow in cold, any serious cold. Anyway, and so I grew up in Calgary, which is about a city of 1 million people. Had a terrific music scene. I was surrounded by great teachers. I was in great band programs. I had extracurricular. I would everything that anyone could want, and it was wonderful. I played starting in high school. I played a lot of gigs, probably 5 6 nights a week, and uh, yeah, started my undergrad at the University of Calgary and did
Uh,
well there, and then transferred to Jacksonville State University to finish my undergrad, which had a great opportunity for me, recordings and just a
oh.
way to get into the
Mm-hmm.
state.
Mm-hmm.
So I finished my undergrad there, and then grad school at UNC in Colorado, and then University of Oregon for my DMA. And then coming out of that, being ABD, I was fortunate to land a tenure track gig at Simpson College. I still own the shirt. Actually, this is
Yeah,
I,
yeah, I see it. Yeah.
that's where it comes from. I used to run a jazz camp, and we used to have all sorts of
So
teachers
now, how many years were you teaching there?
at Simpson College.
Yeah.
So I taught there for 12 years. Yeah, 2005 to 2017. And then in 2017, I won the job for Director of Jazz Studies and Saxophone at
Troy?
Troy University in Troy, Alabama. And that's where we are now.
Yeah, I would love to come and visit you sometime.
Absolutely, that would be
Yeah.
terrific. Well, and then it was supposed to be 2021, but now it'll be 2023. Myself and Troy, we will be hosting the Region 6 NASA conference sometime in the spring. So we look forward to that.
Yeah, yeah. So I might come visit you then.
If not before, you're always welcome. So
Right. Thank you so much. So would you tell me about your little bit about your studio, about your school program or anything?
mhm.
Um,
Yeah, I'd be happy to. So we have 20 some, between 20 and 25 saxophonists in the studio. I'd say between 15 and 15, 16, 17, some high teen number are majors. And I'm joined, I have, because there's so many, there's more than I can handle, frankly, there is joined by a
yeah.
colleague who lives in Florida who also helps with the saxophone studio, Mike Wilson, who does a great job. I met him originally when I was in Iowa. We were both in Iowa.
Oh,
And so Mike handles some of the overload for me. And we also double up some lessons as well, helping students. And so basically my job is handling the saxophone studio and
okay.
then running either improv lessons for people who are interested in learning how to solo in a jazz style, and then of course uh, jazz one, jazz ensemble one.
Oh, so you have like masters and doctor all the way DMA program?
Troy does not have a DMA in music. We do have a master's degree, um, and, uh, and we have I would say 300 music majors probably
Oh,
in the School of Music. So it's pretty
huge.
large. And
Yeah.
we have a huge marching band, which is a big draw. It's very popular, especially down in the southern parts of the United States. The Sound of the South, which is about uh, let's see, anywhere between 350 and 400 members
Oh
is
my
a
goodness.
year.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, so that's a very popular thing. It's a big band school.
Yeah, it's a hard job to do also. Yeah, it's
Well, yeah, I'm glad I don't have anything to do with the marching band because I've never marched in my life. I don't think I'd bring anything of any help. Uh,
yeah, I see.
but I enjoy it all the same, and all the students are of course they enjoy it. But boy, it gets very hot, and they wear wool uniforms, and it's
Yeah.
boy, it's pretty intense. From my perspective, but they seem to enjoy it.
Yeah. So I guess that's leading to my first question. How so a little bit about this a little bit about this background story. A couple, I guess a couple weeks ago or a month ago, I don't exactly remember. I posted I was sitting in my studio room, which is here, um, and I was thinking, oh my God, this pandemic is gonna go for a long time, and why don't I put together a video meeting with saxophone friends, saxophone professors, saxophone people to listen to some of their ideas about teaching, about performing, about and the original idea was learned from Dr. Nathan Knapp. Um,
Hmm.
I think he got terrific serious, and as a matter of fact, I invited him also to be part of this project. And uh, as a matter of fact, one fact you might not know, but I am the first person with disability in China to have a university degree in music of any type of instrument.
Wow, fantastic.
Yeah,
Well, you must be very proud of that, and
uh,
your family as well.
Yeah, I think, but I think it is very very hard at the same time, simultaneously. Um, Also, it's very very impressive. I must say. Um, I I went through a lot of difficult times, and I retake bunch of well, not bunch of maybe three or four courses that are really really hard. I have a cerebral palsy, which affected my part of my body, which is lower part, my foot, my neck. I couldn't walk independently. That's basically what it is, and I had to use crutches, and most time if I'm outside to if I have to travel, I have to use either a manual wheelchair or uh, electric wheelchair. But um, rather than that, I'm fine. And also I have some learning difficulties, but over this years of studying at Southern Oregon University, I think this kind of ability is getting better. Um, I'm I'm having problem. You still have problem focus on one thing, so I get distracted quite often. Um, but it's getting better.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Like an ADHD type of thing where you're.
Well, I don't know, but it could be. Um, I'm not the expert, but I assume that is what you said. Uh, and I get nervous quite often talking in front of people. But also it's getting really uh, getting better, and because I did a lot of practicing. Um, right now, like you and I feel really excited and also really comfortable talking with you, and I think this is fantastic. Um,
Yeah, well, that's one of the great things. If there's any silver lining about the pandemic, it's that people are able to, use that technology and reach out. And I think we'd all agree that would prefer to meet in person. And I think,
oh
and
yeah, I would much prefer to, yeah.
but it sure beats the alternative of turning the lights off and not doing anything. So
Yeah, yeah.
I think it can add some creative ways too. I mean, I've had a whole recording series with some musician friends of mine. I think we've recorded maybe 15 videos, including my favorite probably with Nicholas Prost in France, where we recorded 1060, the Bach
Oh
concerto.
yeah, yeah.
And I'm not sure that would have happened if it was, if I hadn't been thought, the pandemic came, of course. And so I was trying to think, how do I stay active? What's something interesting I can do? And so it just sort of morphed into, well, let's see if some of my friends want to do some remote recording. Of course, I do some audio and video editing. And then Nicholas was someone who I'd always admired, and I just sometimes you just have to take a risk. And I sent him a message because I knew him, but not very well.
Uh-huh.
And I said, "Hey, this is what I'm thinking of doing. Would you be interested in playing it with me?" And he said yes. And so so we had a great time putting that together, and and we are really happy with the end results. And it ended up being actually my score of it just being published a week or two ago with Genet Publications. So
Yeah, I saw it. So I'm gonna. Uh, so now it's published, right? So I'm gonna buy a copy soon.
yeah, it would be something you can play with Rhett for sure. Either two sopranos and piano and continuo if you want that, or two altos. So there's two different versions.
Yeah. Um. So I'm gonna on both of them. Um.
Mhm.
So yeah, my first I guess question is, I know, you probably haven't worked with a person who is disabled, wants to be your student. You probably haven't worked with a student like that, haven't you?
Well, I have in a way, actually, but not quite in a one-on-one saxophone way. But for example, in the jazz band that I direct, we actually have a student who is in a wheelchair. He
Oh, okay.
plays trumpet, and he does a great job. And he's also in the marching band, and it's been interesting seeing how, because he wants to march. So it's been interesting to see how he sort of does the choreography, even though he's in a wheelchair. And so, and of course, it's really very important to our music program that we not exclude anyone. We try and find a way to make it work. And so, yeah, in the Sound of the South, I watched him, and basically he was assigned someone that helped him move at the speed that he needed to move at, as well as play.
Yeah, yeah,
Play,
yeah,
wheel yourself around in the manner that would be helpful. So we sort of had a team approach, and it worked for everybody. And he's a valued member of that, and he's certainly a valued musical member of the jazz ensemble. I mean,
good.
playing jazz band thing is an easier fix because typically there isn't a lot of moving around in that. But yeah, I see him every Tuesday and Thursday, and he contributes very well. And I'm glad to, I'm glad to have, or to be able to give him, multiple opportunities and ways to really contribute to the
Yeah,
programs.
yeah, yeah. No, I think this is the part that I love most about American education system is it that everybody get equal opportunities. Everybody have the chance to try to do anything they want to do. And
Yeah, and I think that's the way it should be. I mean, we're not. On a chorus line on
yeah,
Broadway, are there certain professions, there's certain jobs that simply you have to be able to do them physically, whatever they are, whether it's a bricklayer, whether it's a dancer, and I do
yeah,
think there's things that will naturally preclude people because of certain physical attributes or skills or lack of skill or any of that. But in music, um, unless you have an actual disability with making the sound itself, I would be hard to justify keeping somebody out unless there was some kind of medical reason that, well, didn't allow them to contribute. And, in my experience, that just hasn't been an issue. And I do think that we should not be hung up on the looks of a certain ensemble. I mean, basically everybody, everyone should be able to play if they can, and if
yeah,
they can, contribute their talents to the ensemble. I would also say too, in addition to physical limitations that some people have, I do think, and I'm pleased to see an increased awareness of some of the mental stresses and difficulties that student has. You mentioned earlier things like anxiety a little bit, or
yeah,
nerves, and
yeah.
frankly, everyone across the board, from the healthiest Hercules all the way to someone
Uh,
who has a lot of physical difficulties. I think anyone playing in front of your peers or in front of teachers or XYZ, that's a natural human thing, and that's okay. I think as well though, but like, you're right that I don't have a lot of experience in dealing with students with physical disabilities. I have quite a bit of students, who email me, and or we talk about in a lesson the stresses in their lives, dealing with depression, dealing with anxiety, dealing with all of that. And I really think that these mental, um, and I wouldn't call them disabilities. I would call them mental strains, mental stresses,
yeah,
mental health, as the thing is. I think we should treat them equally. We should treat them seriously, and sort of like the whole body, the whole mind. We need both of them working as well as possible. Hopefully, to really
yeah.
find their potential.
No, I totally agree. Yeah. So, but so in China, unfortunately, we do not have this kind of system. Um, I so when I was a student in China, uh, there's a talk about I was gonna go to some schools like special educational school, which is like people who have trouble talking, people who have trouble self taking care of, like they they couldn't feed themselves eating, they couldn't walk, they couldn't talk properly, like um, they have they couldn't dress themselves up, people like that. And no, there's just not an option for me. So my parents, they're really want me to get a fair, a good experience as long as my education. So fortunately, I I went to the best one of the best elementary school in my city, and later on, uh, I went to the best middle school and high school. So I get uh, I get those diplomas with very high standard.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it's fortunate. And so the question I have is that I'm you know I'm I wanted to write something for the Chinese people about people who is having disability studying music in the West country, like um, United States or either Canada or wherever. So my question is, as a saxophonist or as a saxophone teacher, even though I know that there's no reason for a professor or teacher to treat their student differently than others based on their abilities, right? So I was wondering if you have any advice on, like, people who have cerebral palsy, who cannot use their part of their hands, or people who had a stroke. They're not able to play one conventional saxophone. Like they have to rebuild their instrument to a one hand saxophone.
Uh-huh.
Um, I mean, there are certain repertoire. There are certain music that was like technically challenging, like really ridiculously difficult. I mean, they're not able to play it, and at the same time, like for example, people might not able to play Crescent Concerto, and people might not able to play the Fuzzybird Sonata, and people might not able to play even Ibir Concertino da Camera. But again, so those repertoire is kind of standard repertoire for as a saxophonist of any type. So I know if you're a classical saxophonist, you must learn those repertoire, right? So, but for people who's not able to do that, do you have any advice on how should I or how should other people to rebuild kind of a repertoire program in
Yeah,
yeah,
it's a very interesting question, and I think a very important one. For people that do have various disabilities. The first thing I would say is, I mean, the good thing about the saxophone is that we do have enough repertoire now that I think, or I would hope that perhaps there are pieces that are challenging, but you could
yeah,
still perform. If you are wanting to play some of the mainstays of the repertoire, such as as you mentioned, Ibert or Glazunov or Wyszynski or
Yeah.
Creston concerto or sonata, whatever. And I do think it is important as a saxophonist. I mean, you can't simply just avoid all of the rep,
Right.
and so I mean, the two things that occur to me: one, even if you can't play it, exactly, or what's more likely, maybe sections of it or parts of it. I think that it would be a very useful resource to people with disabilities of that type to have perhaps a simplified version, and not to take away the heart of it or the meat of it. I mean, because I think if you over edit something, it can just strip away the kind of foundation of what it is. But it's a sort of thing where thinking of Creston Sonata first movement, perhaps, and again, the caveat perhaps this would be different for each player, but there are certain bars that we all know as saxophonists in the first movement that are hard, for people without disabilities,
Right.
and I would suggest, based on whatever the specificity is of the difficulty, you know, provided it doesn't take away too much of the core of the piece, perhaps have some ossia bars, some alternate bars that mean you can still play the piece as well as is literally physically possible, and still have that experience. And I don't think, I think that should be something to be proud of. I mean, frankly, how many more recordings of the Crescent Sonata do we actually need as a, uh, you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's not like the sun isn't going to come up if we don't get yet another recording of the Crescent Sonata. We all know how it's supposed to go at this point. And I think instead of saying, oh, I can't play it, well, let's, ask the question, what modifications could I make that would mean that I could play this piece? I think some pieces are going to be so specific that perhaps you do. There's going to be better fits than others, right? And I think part of that is depends on the nature of the disability. What is it that you can't do very well? Is it a tonguing thing? Is it a is it
Finger
simply a
motion.
technical thing? Are the notes going faster than I'm literally able to play? Well, then, do you play it slower? I think you have to wrestle with the question of, where's the line between, is this piece worth doing, given the fact that maybe they're going to have to simplify parts or slow it down more than I'd want musically. If it starts to affect the piece too much, then I think maybe that's a piece that you can study and you can check out and you can learn from a sort of voyeuristic viewpoint, but not actually play. But I do have confidence that there's enough pieces out there in the saxophone rep, whether it's a transcription, whether it's a new piece, whether it's part of the standard, French, repertoire that we have. I would hope that there would be
So you're talking about like Dacenclo or Tableau Provence or
yeah, exactly. So I mean, for example, Tableau de Provence Movement 5. I mean, that's hard for everybody. I mean, so the question is, can you simplify it somewhat? Can you slow it down? But at the same time, if you Tableau 5 needs to be done at quarter note equals 72, well, that really kind of takes away from what that movement is all about, right?
yeah.
I'm not as sure that it would be as valuable. So I think really it's an awareness of what is the disability and what pieces does that allow you to do. And so, for
Right.
example, I mean, and again, it's not that you can't learn a piece and be aware of all its ins and outs. But if something, of that technical level is very difficult, and mentioned Fuzzy Bird, that's a great example as well. Um, I think that there's pieces that and that you could teach and that you could be a pedagogue about. And then there's also pieces that you can actually physically play yourself. And that might need to be sort of a little bit narrower of a
Right.
selection of rep that you are actually able to play and bring to the fore in terms of, what this piece is about. It's still, at the end of the day, I do think it does a disservice if a piece is not, sort of recognizable in terms of its core elements, in terms
Yeah.
of,
Yeah.
tempo and style and,
Yeah.
and those things. So
Great.
inevitably there does have to be, I think, a bit of compromise and a bit of awareness of that.
So you mean like for this kind of disability, we although we need to have them to learn those kind of pieces, but also at the same time we all have to make some sort of adjustment, um, based on, like for example the articulations, like the tempo adjustment, and
Hmm.
maybe um, change the phrase of certain sections. Is that what you're
Exactly,
referring
exactly. I think there needs to be a modified version that is done to allow you to play the piece. So instead of boo da ba do da ba do da ba da, the start of tableau five, if there's an issue with articulation, boo da ba da ba ba da ba ba da, you might simplify, so instead of 4/16, with the slur two tongue two, maybe eighth and or flip that rhythm, simplify it, modify it in a way that it still has the character but
to?
allows you to actually be successful
All
at.
right, this is a terrific way to satisfy, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, because
What
really it's that or nothing, I mean, and it's you don't want to be, I would think, saddled with playing pieces just like Bozza aria or Iber aria or Bozza, improvisation, stuff that isn't, I mean, everyone wants to play the big flashy piece, right?
Yeah,
And I do think particularly it's absolutely valid if there's a physical handicap that stops you from being exactly as the composer intended. I think ideally there'll be a way that you can still play it and
yeah,
represent the spirit of the piece, even if it's
right.
being modified to the disability. To me, I'd rather that happen than not play the piece at all. That's just a.
So sounds like you would rather have the student playing that piece rather than just forget about it, just not play it.
Yeah, I think so. Especially if the student was really into it. I mean, I think it makes a big difference for us to play pieces that we're excited about. That we really want to do. I mean, the pieces that I learned the most are the ones that I really woke up thinking about and fell asleep thinking about them. So then it's a question of, well, can I play this at 100%? Can I play it at 90%? Can I play it, with a couple bars simplified and still, have a meaningful musical experience with it? If the answer to that is yes, then I say go for it. But I think it
Oh,
needs to have some real awareness of what am I able to do? And I think there just needs to be some foresight in terms of, what is it about this piece that would be specifically challenging? And can I find a way to get through it in some modification that still keeps the
yeah,
heart of the piece
yeah.
intact?
Thank you. That's a great point. And so, another next question I wanted to ask you is that, what are some of your key point of teaching that you would say that would benefit your student or anybody that worked with you the most, and you would recommend to your student, or like for example to me, for working with different type of student, that for example, people with disability, um, that what are the teaching philosophies that you learn or you have been using, like what are the methods have you been using that you will think would benefits all level, all type of students.
Sure, I'd be happy to speak about that briefly. Uh, I like to. Uh, I tell my students at a minimum they need to practice 2 hours a day. And I also recommend, though, that they break up those in sort of 1 hour sessions. I'm obviously, it's flexible for everybody, but speaking of my own experience, after an hour, I need a bit of a break, and I think most people are probably like that. But so I try to encourage my students to practice at least 2 hours a day and break those sessions up into two 1 hour sessions. For those that are quite more advanced, or those that are also doing jazz stuff as well, that really needs to double to make the most progress. You probably need 4 hours a day, and to try and carve out that time. I also think that within an hour of practice, it's very useful. I use what I call a 20-20-20 technique, where the first 20 are scales and technique, scales, thirds, arpeggios, that kind of practice. The middle 20 are long tones, where at least most of my students, I have them working on vibrato exercises, overtones, altissimo, things like that. And then the third 20 is really when we start working on repertoire. And the hope is that the first 40 minutes, which have addressed aspects of technique and long tones, of which they're using, hopefully will find their way into the repertoire. And I think that's a good kind of sequential way to practice.
Yeah.
I also think it makes practicing go quicker, and especially having, I'm very big on having specific goals. Don't just open up the horn and think, well, what am I going to do today? It's really important to have sort of checkpoints and as I say, specific
Right.
goals you can try and accomplish. And
Right.
I really hope that all of my students, when they get to the end of their practice session and they put their horn away, I hope they feel good. I hope they have something they can point to and say, I am better at this. I always say, whether it's rep, don't always start at the first bar and get to the end. Maybe it's just work on, say, the first two phrases, work on lines 4 and 5, whatever it is, or sections, work on tableau movement 1, 11 to 12 for 20 minutes. I would, you'd probably be fairly well served with that. And then, so kind of modularly fit, and work on sections. And then as you progress, start getting the sections to be longer. And of course, eventually you will be start to finish and ready for an actual performance. So that's sort of a kind of a basic overview that I have a lot of my students work on. And so far, it's been pretty successful. And there's been some good buy-in on this. And I'm pleased with my students' progress. But it's interesting too. You find some students take it upon themselves to sort of modify this, and so I have some students that instead of doing the 20-20-20, they prefer like 4 15-minute segments. So they and it's of course very personalizable.
Right.
Which is the entire point. So they might work on 15 of scales, thirds, arpeggios, 15 of long tones, 15 minutes of Furling etudes or Berbigia etudes or liqueur, and then 15 minutes of rep. And then take a break, do it again, reverse it, go practice something else, go think about something else, and come back ready, and hopefully excited.
Yeah.
To study music. I think it's important to not make music a drag. I mean, we all got into music because it's fun. It should be fun. It's
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
you got to
Right.
find a way to keep the joy in it, the excitement. As they say, that I want my students, the first thing they think about when they wake up in the morning is a piece that they're looking forward to working on,
Yeah.
and going to bed each night with a sense of
Yeah.
pride and
Yeah.
excitement about, hey, I'm getting there. It's
Yeah.
gonna be.
So yeah, for me, my feeling is that once I'm close to accomplish something, I get excited, and I'm just thrilled and kind of release. Yeah.
Absolutely, and that should be the fun of music. And it's easy to get bogged down in the details sometimes and slugging it out in the practice room. But it's you got to remember why are we doing this? Nobody really practices scales for fun. We use it as a way to
Yeah.
get our technique
Yeah.
better and to make the pieces that we play sound easy, right? I mean that's always the goal. We want when we play, it should sound effortless, and the listener thinks, yeah, I can do that. That's
Yeah.
no big.
Sure.
And then they try and do it, and they're like, "Oh my god, the work that had to go into this." But
I know how it feels. Yeah, because I sometimes I run to that kind of point also.
yeah,
Uh, and would you talk a little bit about how do you approach your daily practice? Like how do you open up, and like how do you progress?
yeah, I think it's always sort of goal oriented. Whether I have I've recently been playing with some orchestras, making sure that I'm aware of I've just played symphonic dances for the first time, and it was really important to me to
Oh, I
know.
love those ones.
Yeah, but it's kind of scary because you're sitting there for 5 minutes and then you come in, and it's this kind of interesting way to get in, and very easy to be incorrect with
Yeah.
that. So making sure I'm thoroughly prepared in terms of knowing my part and the other parts around it. There's always things that we can become better players at, whether you want to improve it. Altissimo. I mean, I just kind of have a usual list of things I think I should be better at. I think everybody does. And the goal every day is hopefully at least chip away at something. And I think that can expand as well, not just in saxophone playing, but like I've become very interested in publishing, with Genet and trying to bolster that and get better at that, and have great publications including historical notes and ornaments, and being a kind of as strong a musician in those elements too, not just playing, so and I'm also interested in the video editing and audio editing, so trying to make what music means
Do
to
you
me.
do you do those editing yourself? Like
I do. Yeah, I do all of that. So when you say practice, I mean, yes. Do I practice every day? Yes. Do I try to get better as a player? Sure. I mean, I'm like everybody else, just slugging it out, just trying to make my skills better and address any weak spots and make them less weak. But I think it's interesting. I found as I've gotten older that I'm interested in a wider palette of what it means to be a musician. So I'm interested in, as I said, audio editing. I'm interested in video editing. I'm interested in now the new Yamaha digital saxophone and expanding kind of the sonic possibilities of that. I'm editing a CD that my wife, who's an oboist, she's doing a remote recording with a great oboist from Colorado, Peter Cooper. And so I'm the one that's stitching that together. And I feel that that's really fulfilling as well. I mean, I love playing. I always will. I always have. But there's more to my music world now than just playing. And
right, exactly, yeah.
I think it keeps things fresh and interesting. And I enjoy it.
Yeah. And so would you talk about a little bit of video editing, like audio editing, like what equipment you use, like how do you
Yeah,
come about all of
sure.
that?
Yeah. So I use a combination of Adobe Premiere Pro and Final Cut Pro for video editing, and I use Logic Pro X. So I'm using a Mac for all of this, and I have some microphones that I use. Yeah, and it's really been just kind of a process where I really taught myself through YouTube tutorials, or just kind of kept plugging away, having some friends that can help me when needed, and yeah, it's just like we say, it's like when you have a piece and you're really interested and you really want to learn it and get it down. Same sort of thing with some of these programs, especially when and it all sort of builds on itself. So I practice something and I'm proud of it, and then I put it in audio engineering software and I make it as good as I could possibly make it, adding some reverbs or slight
Yeah.
different takes, and making the one ultimate take, and then of course filming it and making it look beautiful, as well as hopefully sound beautiful. And I think those three things, the playing, the audio, the video, all really complement each other in a way that has really, I think, benefited me for sure, and also allows me to do that with not just myself, but like as going back to sort of the Bach 1060 thing I did with Nicholas Prost and pianist Ting Ting and Mary cellist, being able to get their music from 4 different places in the world. I mean, Paris, Alabama, Tennessee, and Iowa, all sending me those files and me making something that I think worked out pretty well. And as I say, looks good and sounds good.
Yeah, it's okay, go ahead. Yeah. Um, Go ahead. I saw. Hello. Do we?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can hear. Can you hear me?
Yes. I thought you didn't finish. Did you?
Oh, yeah. I know. I think I got.
Okay. Sorry. So another thing that Oh, by the way, did you download this all softwares on your computer, or do you have to pay, or do you have to like buy somewhere, or
Yeah,
how do
it's
you?
all downloadable, and lots of the Logic Pro is a free trial for 90 days, and then you have to buy it. It's about $200. Premiere Pro used to be you can buy it, but now they're on a subscription service. So now it's about I don't know, $15 a month or something like that. But actually Troy University was very good about that, and they pay for that because I do some promotional things for their music department. So
So you basically use this tied under the university foundation.
Yeah. I think that's certainly an advantage of me working at Troy. They've been very supportive and recognize some of the
Yeah.
work I do in that area is helpful. I mean, certainly in terms of recruiting and being able to put some quality content into the world
Yeah.
can only help things.
Yeah. Um, yeah, so these kind of things that I wanted to do something similar to yours also.
Oh, good.
I
Well, yeah, I'll look
yeah,
forward to hearing them. Are you
I
gonna? I assume you're using some of that software.
right now I'm just figuring out what kind of software we can use, and also I'm very much interested in the acapella. Do you know?
Yeah,
I'm learning to use that.
yeah. That's. I think that's a very easy way to start learning. And not to have to buy a big computer program. But I think there are some limitations in that. But as a way to start, I think it's terrific. And yeah, there's lots of good examples of that,
Yeah,
which I think you're
yeah.
posting.
So right now I'm working on putting together. I don't know. Have you heard the name of Dr. David Knapp?
Yes, yeah, I know David very well.
Yeah. So he and I been friends since 2009, and I know him quite well. And he had a stroke. I guess.
Yeah.
Um, but he's one of my heroes in saxophone, and also in life.
Yeah,
Uh,
he's not let that slow him up at all.
yeah, he's very strong. And recently, he and I contacted several times, and so we are trying to figure out um, um, projects that we could all work together. And one of the things that he and I start talking about is maybe putting a duet together. Uh, I think this is a manageable idea. And then he I told him, and he said, I'll be great." So he said he would love to work with me on that. Right now, we're just play around with ideas to find a way to record, also to find a way to do some editing and that kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, if you have any questions, let me know.
Yeah.
I did that a couple of months ago. Myself and my friend Michael Schultz, who teaches in Memphis, we recorded Mark Meltz's Farfacote,
Mm.
which was a lot of fun. And we did that digitally or did it remotely. And I was able to edit that together. Yeah, I think really since March, I think I've maybe put out, I don't know, 10, maybe 15. I can't quite remember videos. And the majority of those have all been remote
Yeah.
collaborations. So it's been a great joy to kind of learn how to do that effectively and efficiently, and ultimately have a great final product. Because otherwise, what's the point?
Yeah. 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 Okay. Thank you. And I was wondering, I have like two more questions, and then
Okay.
I think that's it. And so the first one is that I know that um, you have worked with Dr. Fancher, Dr. Susan Fancher.
Yes.
Would you talk a little bit of your experience about that? I didn't ask her, but I'm wondering if you could talk about it and like. Like
Yeah,
how do you
I'd be
come
happy to.
together? Like
Sure.
because I know her very well. He and I
Yeah, well,
are very
yeah,
close.
and because yeah, I mean, with the South or the North Carolina location for sure. Yeah, I've always been friends with Sue and her husband Mark.
Yeah.
Collaborated with them, especially Mark, um, in the last decade and playing some of his quartet pieces and yeah, working with him a lot. And Sue has always just been such a happy, fun person to be around, and
Yeah.
sounds great.
Great.
Yeah, and so it was when I was making my last CD. I had some of these arrangements I'd made for two saxes and piano, some Bach and Vivaldi things, and sometimes it's just as simple as who do I want to play this with? Who haven't I played with that I think would do a great job, and I've always wanted to play with, and Sue was just kind of on the top of that list, someone I'd regarded highly for many years. And so, I asked her, and we got a bit of money together from a grant from Troy University, and so I was able to actually to hire her to play as well as a pianist, and also Mark did the recording. So it all worked out fortuitously, and yeah, it was fun. It was just what I expected. It was fun musically, and it was also great to hang out. There's always plenty of wine and
Uh,
joviality. It was sometimes first.
so Enora is the Enora. I forgot her last name.
Uh,
Enora is
oh,
your
oh,
pianist.
uh,
We did
yeah,
recording.
Zanar. Oh my goodness, it's off the top of my. Uh,
It's
yeah,
okay.
I'll have to look it up.
Yeah.
Talk to her in a little while, but yeah, the pianos was fantastic. Just and I know she plays with Sue a lot, and yeah, just laid it down, and yeah, it was just the way it should be, like the best things in life. It was fun personally, it was fulfilling and rewarding musically. I mean, what more can you ask for? I don't know. So yeah, I would, and actually I had her out to Troy to work with the saxophone studio, and we played some of the same pieces again, and that was a lot of fun as well. So hopefully I'll get to see her, um, you know, not too far in the future.
Yeah. I bet it's gonna be a lot of fun.
Yes, yeah,
Yeah.
whether saxophone's involved or not, it will be fun.
Yeah. She's really loving and certainly a good soul.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
caring and empathetic and funny and yeah,
Yeah. And
it's you get what you get. There's nothing artificial with Sue. She's just a lovely person, and let's leave it at that.
so interesting fact that she is the first American saxophonist ever I met, and we met for long time ago in 2009, and she went to China the following year, and
Hmm.
and of course before she went to China, we kept in touch. We're just so like so connected so well each other, and then since then she and I been and the family two families are very very close.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's
I'm
wonderful.
I'm so glad that we have this kind of connection.
Yes,
Yeah,
and that's the wonderful thing about life
I'm
is that you
I'm
meet
I'm so
great people
appreciative.
throughout the
Yeah. So another and thank you for that. Thank you for that. Another thing I wanted to um, talk with you about is that I've always wanted to do something for the disability and also for the saxophone committee. Um, for example, I'm a member of North American Saxophone Alliance, and I just recently there's this idea is always in my brain, but recently it's the ideas keep coming back really strong, which which is that I wanted to build build like association or something that tied to NASA or somewhere or whatever. I don't know. To build a like a organization or a program such thing for people for musicians with disabilities, and so I wanted to um, um, work with able-bodied composers or
Mhm. Well,
disability composers to write music for those people, and so just
I
to
would love to see that be a tie-in as part of NASA. And as you know, NASA has some new elements to it, such as like the status of women. Women
yeah.
performers, women saxophonists. I think everyone would support the same sort of section of NASA being created that may be specialized and focused on the needs and desires of the saxophone community that do deal with disabilities. Yourself and David Nab and some others, I'm sure. And I would use the power of NASA and the players within and create a section of that. I
Oh,
would work with the executive board of NASA. Reach out to Jess Floyd Page and Chris Creviston and the entire board, and see if something could be done. I would be shocked if there wasn't widespread support for that.
so I just have this kind of idea, but I don't know if I'm the right person to reach out to them. I mean, I have no problem to reach out to Dr. Keviston and Jess Page, but I I'm kind
Well,
of feel like intimidated if I just go say, "Hey, Dr. Keviston, I wanted to talk with you for some ideas about disabilities and
I
maybe
think it's
for
a
putting
natural thing to
together."
be nervous about that, but if it matters to you, you should just make it happen. I mean, I always tell my kids, what's the worst thing that they can do? What's the worst thing that can happen to you? And what they say no. If that's the worst thing, then why not try? I do think I've always been surprised in my life by how open people are to things of value that I would like to do or things that I think are cool. Many more times it's worked out in a way or a version of a compromise way that has benefited me. It's been a very small amount that I've had the
Yeah,
door shut in
yeah,
my face. And I think there's a time for things like this to be brave and to reach out and at least get the ball rolling. And I would suggest that you do so maybe and talk with those folks, representing yourself and several other people with disabilities, and sort of so it's not just you, but it's you with some of your friends that
yeah,
are like-minded, and I, as I say, it's just such a no-brainer. I think they would absolutely be supportive and would help steer that energy and that desire
yeah.
into something that actually
I,
gets
I would really hope so because as a saxophonist and as a human being to the society, I really wanted to do something. Okay, so the saxophone, which we all love, and so right, so I love the saxophone, and so I really wanted to do something for this committee and so this
yeah.
community.
So
Uh,
what's the worst thing that can happen?
but
Nothing.
uh,
And two, I think especially being a minority, it's important that your views and voices are heard. So I would very much encourage you to make that happen.
oh, thank you, I appreciate it. Um, One last thing that I wanted to ask you that to get your advice on is that what is the um, path pathway for musicians? Let's just say for saxophone, because I know a lot of musicians with disability who has a I would say a fine career. A lot of them does. But as a saxophonist, I'm always aware of how, like, what what some of the key things to have for them to have a career in music in general. Like, is
Well, I think
it like a getting, like, for example, I know I have a college degree. I'm the first person with disability in China to have a college degree in music, as I mentioned in the beginning. And I'm just wanted to, kind of open the door to those people, because I know there some good musicians are out there, um, who wants to study in the United States, and as I'm the one benefits so much from learning from the United States university. I wanted
Well,
to open the door for that.
I would suggest a few things. Number one, the first person I think of who's perhaps the greatest example of this is the great violinist Itzhak Perlman, who is has problems with mobility and has played every concerto in the history of violin concertos with every orchestra 20 times and has never once stood up for any of them. It sure hasn't slowed him down. So I think, disability or no disability, creating fine music that is of a very high standard really should, would, and could be the goal, for everybody. And I mean that in a very blanket statement. I think creating easily shareable social media posts where you're either talking about things or interviewing people or playing well, showing what disabled people can do, because they can do some amazing things. I think that is good. I think maybe having a website, having a blog, having something that people can easily read and identify with and say, you know what, this isn't just for him. I could do this too. I think, part of your role now, maybe you feel this way, is to sort of inspire the next the you that is maybe 10 years old and thinking, hey, I want to do what he does, So it's interesting, the viewpoint of is it just about myself, or is it how can I kind of help and make easier for the next generation of people behind me? And I think that's a really interesting thing to think about in terms of legacy.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Thank you so much, and I really appreciate all your points.
Well, you are so welcome. And yeah, I do hope you can come down to Troy sometime. You would always be welcome.
Thank you. And would you mind if you send me some of your either arrangements of of your music, or I would love to have a look. Would you send me something about, like, what you're doing, like what did you do music
Sure.
wise, please?
Yeah. Oh, you mean like audio video stuff, or do you mean the actual like published music stuff?
No, no, no. Either saying like audio, video, or some of your arrangements that is unpublished. I would love to take a look at it.
Sure. Yeah, I have a couple things I'd be happy to send you.
Thank you.
All right. Well, please keep in touch, and yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how this all turns out.
Thank you so much, Dr. Camwell. I appreciate your time so much.
You are more than welcome. Good luck to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay. Bye bye.
Bye bye.